Hello and welcome to It's Just Wrestling. My name is Eric, known on the internet as Tubby Emu. You can follow me at Tubby Emu. I created It's Just Wrestling in 2013 with a goal in mind to look at professional wrestling in a different view. Instead of constantly bashing it, hating it, or just giving blanket praise, we look at the entertainment aspect of it, what goes into the mindsets, and looking at things logically and discussing them. Well, it took 3 years. The product went in different directions, and I didn't always agree with it. So I didn't feel the need to podcast. I would start a podcast, and it would kind of end. I thought, to me, it was because of the product that I didn't have an interest to podcast. I've always had an interest in radio. I've always wanted to be a radio DJ. But when I was 16, and I went into the job, which I was promised forever, I was supposed to start on the sports desk, but they wanted me to do promos for ads of things I didn't believe in. So I turned it down because they wanted me to promote something, and the very next week, their competitor product I was also supposed to put over. That didn't sit right with me. What also hasn't sat right with me since then is the fact that we grew up loving professional wrestling in an era that is a bygone one. It is 2016 and things have changed. When you have matches like Will Ospreay versus Ricochet in New Japan that do look choreographed, that don't have time to sell, and you have people like Vader blowing up the internet. Great promotion, by the way. Will Ospreay is going to be facing Vader, and that's just an awesome way to get yourself into a match and a payday. But that's the thing. Once you find out the true story, though, in that match, they wanted to do a lot more selling. But the problem was they had a 15-minute time limit, and they went 14:55, according to Will Ospreay. That's the kind of stuff you don't see. You just look at the match, and you have your feelings one way or another. Now, some people prefer a different style of wrestling. And instead of watching a show that fits that narrative that they enjoy, they continue to watch a product that they don't. And here's the thing. That's not me. I grew up watching WWE and WCW. Did I watch many other promotions? Not really. It was pretty much WWE and WCW because they were the big cats. They were the big dogs. They were the ones that ran everything. But when it came down to it, eventually ECW came around, and I liked ECW. I would watch it occasionally, but I wasn't a super hardcore fan. Because at the time, I was more interested in guys like The Rock, Rob Van Dam, who did come over from ECW a little bit later on. You have guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who pushed a narrative. He didn't come in as a character. He was Stunning Steve Austin. He did a lot of stuff with the Ringmaster. Ultimately, he just amplified himself and went against the authority. The authority in that case was Vince McMahon and the corporation. And look what happened. He got over. You look at a guy like Shinsuke Nakamura now, and WWE has changed their philosophy. You're not always looking for the biggest and baddest guys now because it's 2016. And all the meatheads in the world, well, according to those internet wrestling commentators, Vince has always had a thing for big jack dudes. Hell, I don't blame him. Vince McMahon is 70 plus years old, has a work ethic that I absolutely adore and want to look up to. I started getting up at 6 a.m. and working from 6 a.m. instead of sleeping in. He's in the gym, and he respects the people that put in that same amount of effort. When you work for a company, you have to be willing to put in that effort. Now, in the companies, your effort isn't always rewarded, and that's the thing. To the public, we see that effort that is being put out there with guys like Dolph Ziggler, guys that are trying to get themselves over like Damien Sandow, who did without the help of the company, ultimately getting released, and now over in TNA, which, if you are a fan of Damien Sandow, you should watch TNA. If you truly believed that Damien Sandow was a character that should have gotten over, but you don't like TNA, you should still watch to support the characters. Because even if you don't support the company based on what they do or a certain promotion, you can support the talent because the talent is what matters. The stories, the brand that they leave with. That is something that is stuck with me. You know, Vince Russo says all the time, it's about your brand. When I interviewed Damien, it was about maximizing your screen time. When you were on the screen, you maximized it. So if you ever left the WWE, that was your body of work to get you paid down the road to feed the family and to put food on the table. And that's what wrestling is. We forget that they're characters. We looked at politics. We look at the backstage stuff, and that distracts us. We look for all that stuff to distract us because the shows may not have been as good as we remember. But if you go back and actually watch some of the Attitude Era stuff, it wasn't as great as you remember. Now, there were a lot more great moments than bad moments, but it was filled with fluff, just like a 3-hour Raw is today. But if you're not a fan of a 3-hour Raw, you now have many, many different alternative options. WWE, if you're a fan, has the Cruiserweight Classic. They have NXT. They have other avenues for their own product that's not just one way anymore. WWE has evolved just like we all have because it's 2016. The same style, the same way of trying to get over doesn't work anymore. When you can put out a tweet and set the world on fire, why are you able to set the world on fire? Because every little thing we do nowadays is analyzed. And I was one of these people. And that's why It's Just Wrestling failed in its original run. Because I was too critical of the product without taking an inner look at me and trying to figure out why I wasn't enjoying it. Was I not enjoying the product because it wasn't good? Or was I not enjoying the product because I was getting my hopes up all the time based on rumors and reports of what would possibly happen? So then I internally build up this grand plan, and then when it plays out on TV, if it does, I complain it's predictable. But if it doesn't happen, I complain that the WWE messed up. And that's where my attitude has changed. That's why I now feel comfortable in launching It'sJustWrestling.com. Because when you look at all the wrestling promotions, and I'll be the first one to tell you, TNA this year has done a fantastic job. Matt Hardy, the recreation of himself, he talked on the Chris Jericho podcast about changing the world of wrestling. It doesn't have to be as linear, and he is doing that. Brother Nero at the tapings put himself through a table. Delete, delete, delete. It is a new form. To some old wrestling fans, it's not your thing. Seeing a choreographed match in New Japan or seeing an over cinematographied, if that's what you want to call it, cinematography of a match at Matt Hardy's compound, people have their different views about if it's good or if it's bad. But if it's not something you enjoy, just don't watch it. Instead, we get ourselves too worked up over that and then either get upset and create battles with other people, which just in turn kind of makes us hate wrestling more and more each day. The past 3 months have been spent looking and appreciating the art of professional wrestling, looking at the stories and looking at what is possibly going to happen. Triple H was recently interviewed, and he was talking about NXT and the reintroduction of enhancement matches and talent. Now, on TV, you may just look at it as, wow, they're just putting Braun Strowman out there and crushing him. What is this doing? Well, each week, you are seeing a new part of Braun. You are starting to learn his moves. You're starting to see what he's done because he has been changed. He has been not necessarily re-gimmicked, but repackaged in a way. So because he is a newer build of himself, the enhancement matches bring out different things in him. When Ryback debuted, and you constantly saw him beating jobbers forever, and it went on, and people thought it dragged on, and it may have. In Braun Strowman's case, this is a way to see a new side of him. I like it. Eva Marie is another prime example when it comes to SmackDown. The fans knew she couldn't wrestle when she first came in because she didn't have wrestling experience. So the fact that she was put on TV over other women who worked their asses off in NXT or promotions weren't on TV, but she was because of Total Divas, people got upset. Well, instead of just going along with it, Eva Marie bucked up and went to train with the Brian Kendrick and down at the Performance Center. Now, I don't know if she became all of a sudden the best women's wrestler, but she doesn't have to be because wrestling isn't all about the actual wrestling. It's about the stories and the characters. If you have a women's wrestler or a wrestler, a male wrestler, it doesn't matter who it is, and you know the fans dislike them and say they can't wrestle, What better way to get under their skin than to have them come out to debut to wrestle, but not actually wrestle? WWE accomplished many things with Eva Marie's debut. What did they do? Eva Marie came out with an over-the-top entrance, which is to get you to boo her, to not like her. Her cockiness, her in-ring, just her presence, the kiss, everything about what Eva is doing is pretty great. But she didn't wrestle. What happened when she didn't wrestle? Becky Lynch got a little upset and she was taken to the back and she couldn't compete. Did WWE just forget about this like they normally have done with feuds and things in the past? No. The next week, Becky Lynch was in the ring. Eva Marie is making her way out to finally debut. The whole time, she's kind of teasing the ankle, the leg. Oh, it's hurt. No, it's good. Following up on a story. Instead, you may have just looked at it as, I hate Eva. Why is Eva here? Without looking at the little intricate details that WWE put into especially writing a script or planning it out. Because of the fact in the second week, and I did notice the strap and I thought there was going to be some sort of malfunction, because of the fact that she didn't wrestle, Becky Lynch, who has kind of been held in purgatory while the other women's wrestlers have gone on to bigger and better things, ever since her breakup with the three-man team or the three-woman team, she hasn't really done much. So what better way to help her than to have a fiery side of her? I was drafted to SmackDown, I want to fight, and this is happening. Then who comes out? Eva goes to the back. She's embarrassed. She didn't wrestle. They accomplished the goal, and out comes Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss comes out and makes her WWE debut in stunning fashion, beating Becky Lynch. But at the same time, Becky Lynch wasn't prepared to fight somebody like Alexa Bliss. There's a logical reason for Alexa Bliss to win. There's a reason Alexa Bliss could debut and come in, instead of an enhancement match debut, to actually go over a superstar. If you're Becky, you're ready to fight Eva Marie. And now all of a sudden, 2 weeks in a row, she's not fighting. You're pissed. We're seeing a new side of Becky Lynch. And you're like, man, I just want to fight. And somebody comes out, but whoa, okay. Wow, Alexa Bliss took me by surprise. Just like Paige took the WWE by surprise when she debuted and won the Divas title at the time. You may not have noticed that. Did you? Honestly. When I just broke down that Eva Marie thing, did you look at it on TV as Eva Marie is, it's just Eva? It's WWE throwing her down our throats. Or did they accomplish more? That's what this podcast is going to be. That's the journey I'm going to take you on. I hope you're willing to support the podcast. I hope you stick around. And if you do, you can head over to itsjustwrestling.com. Now, the site doesn't have anything up there now, but it eventually will. The podcast will go up on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. Now, I've contemplated a Patreon, but let's be honest. I do not have a great track history of keeping up with things. So I don't want you to want to support in that way. If you do like what I do, there's a couple simple ways you can support me. You can head over to Amazon with a link in the description, click it, shop like you normally would, and we'll get a percentage of that. We really appreciate it. It helps the show. We can buy new equipment. Likewise, I work for WrestleCrate. I talked about this earlier when it came to radio broadcasting. I only promote stuff that I actually use or somewhat believe in. And I say somewhat because I have promoted some things that were paid promotions because of the fact they were paid promotions. I did a game on PS4 that, I did do it because I was pretty broke and I needed it. But after I did the promotion, I fell in love with the game and I played it for 4 days straight and put in the time and effort into it because it's something that when they first offered it to me, I kind of fell in love with, but I wasn't sure if my audience would enjoy it. But I ended up doing it. WrestleCrate was one of those things. When WrestleCrate first came out, I dug it. I was a fan. I promoted it. I wanted to unbox it. Well, eventually, a couple months down the road, I worked my way in, and now I work for WrestleCrate. And that's the thing. When I say something, when I believe something, or I push something, I'm being honest. Because here's the thing. I was sponsored by G Fuel for 3 years. G Fuel was my sponsor because I loved energy drinks. As a big guy, I worked at a computer since I was 15, and I was constantly taking those Stacker 2 energy shots for $1 at the Dollar Tree instead of those the 5-hour energies, which were $3 or $4 a pop. Well, ultimately, G Fuel came around, and at the time, I loved it. It tasted great. It was only 10 calories. I loved it, but ultimately after 3 years, and I didn't stop drinking it because I didn't enjoy it. I just randomly picked up a Monster can one day. And I tried Monster Low Carb and went, damn, this is pretty good. Well, what happened? A week later, I emailed G Fuel and I said, guys, I love your product. I love you, but I drink Monster now. And in good conscience, I cannot and will not continue to promote the product. And that's where I left it. So I hope you enjoy this journey. If you want to support me, you can head over to itsjustwrestling.com, click that Amazon link or in the description. If you want to get a WrestleCrate of your very own, get a box of wrestling goodies shipped to your house every single month. There's 2 different options you can help purchase and support. If you want to get a standard crate, you can. The $14.99, excellent value. If you spend $14, you usually get at least $30 plus in retail value. The ultimate crate, the same thing. It's all about giving you the best value for your money. We featured autographs like Kurt Angle, Jerry Lawler. We've had some awesome shirts like the I Love You Ric Flair Shawn Michaels shirt. We've had the Fight Forever Nakamura Zayn shirt. It has been a great journey, and WrestleCrate will continue on. If you want to get a WrestleCrate of your very own, you can sign up at WrestleCrate.com and use code BEYOND. And that'll wrap it up for this introductory episode. I did want to do a long podcast for the first one because I wanted to feel this out and see if you guys actually enjoyed this. I would love to know your feedback in the comment section below. If you would like to keep up with my rants, thoughts, or anything that's on my mind, you can follow me on Twitter at TubbyEmu. Note, if I'm tweeting about shows, I may be sarcastic. I may not come across as, let's just be honest here. When I tweet, you don't always want to take it super seriously. But when it comes to Monday and Tuesdays, when it comes to professional wrestling, we're going to look at the fact that it's just wrestling, and I love wrestling. So until next time, my name is Tubby Emu. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, we will see you all later.